Good morning, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny, and it is December the 14th, 2024. It is 9:22 inside the hermit hut. And I thought I'd make a video. It's been 3 or 4 days since I made a video. If you read my online diary, Crooked Fingers, you know my day-to-day life doesn't really alter that much. It follows a consistent pattern. Because I am retired, I'm an old man. And yeah, I read and I write in my diary. This morning in my paper diary, I'm on page 1046. For the year 2024. Yeah, today is Saturday. Outside it is freezing cold. It is gray. Snow on the ground. But it's supposed to be like 50 by this coming Monday. So the snow will melt. To me, the hardest months to get through for me is November and December. January seems to go by quick, and February, and then before you know it, we're into spring. But like I've said in these videos, here in Southwest Michigan, it does not get warm until maybe the end of May. I remember when I used to drive to work many years ago, in March I'd be driving in rain, ice. Yeah, you would drive to work in March and it would rain ice and your windshield wiper would just turn to complete ice. Scary driving. So anyway, I thought I would do in this video is, I didn't do a Friday reads because I didn't have time to be alone. My wife was here all day yesterday due to the bad weather, and this morning my wife went to a pancake breakfast and then to fold church bulletins. And she took our granddaughters who live down the street with our oldest son and his wife, Josie and Cora. And she said she wouldn't be home until 11. So I got some space to ramble about what I have been reading. I did get a book in the mail. I mentioned that I was reading The Librarius by Patrick deWitt. I bought this a week ago, maybe, yeah, almost over a week and a half ago at our downtown retail bookstore, independently owned, the Reader's World. And I picked up The Librarius by Patrick deWitt. So I was reading this, and I told you I had read in the past 2 other novels by him, The French Exit and Under Major Domino. And I ordered one of his earlier books, novels by Patrick deWitt, and I've been reading it. Ablations by Patrick deWitt. Someone said they want me to hold up the books longer, so this is what I've been reading. It's a very short little thing, where this is a little bit longer, this one. So I've been reading those. And but I'll first show you the Christian books, and then I'll go, you know my routine. In the mornings I read the Christian books until noon. But yesterday I kind of broke my routine. I read this all day yesterday practically. I was trying to finish the second treatise in the Carthusian spirituality, the writings of Hugh Obama and Gaio DuPont. I finished Hugh Obama, Roads to Zion Morn, and then I start reading the second treatise, which is by Gaio DuPont on contemplation. And I read that yesterday, and I'm almost done with it. So I've been reading this in the mornings. And this morning I was going to read, I've shown you this book, Light, Unapproachable, Divine Incomprehensibility and the Task of Theology by Ronnie Kurtz. So I'm going to read this morning. I had a really hard time sleeping, so I'm kind of really, I woke up at 3:30, which is normal for me to go to the bathroom, and then I couldn't get back to sleep. So I got up, messed with the laptop, I wrote my composition book, and then I lay down at 5 o'clock, and then I got up around 8:15. So I'm kind of irritable, but I plan to read this as long as I can stay awake. Like, I recommend this, especially after reading the Carthusians. They're good. These two books are good to read together. Read together. It'd be a good companion to read these together. Also, I recommend, reading these two books together. This is Irresistible Beauty, Beholding the Triune Glory in the Face of Jesus Christ by Samuel H. Parkinson. Yeah, I recommend this book. Both these books are good books to read if you're into knowing God, knowing Jesus Christ. But I recommend these two. And I've been reading to the Psalms. As I told you, I've been reading this 4-volume commentary. The Psalms, a Christ-centered commentary by Christopher Ash. This is volume 2, Psalms 1 through 50. I'm on Psalm 18, as I mentioned. I'm still going through that one. That's one of the longest Psalms, besides Psalm 119. I didn't know that until I was reading that commentary. Yes, Psalm 18 is 50 verses. So it's a long Psalm. And so that's why it's taken me a while to get through this commentary on Psalm 18. Because when I read, I try to read slowly, and I ponder, I meditate, and I write in my paper diary things that stand out to me. This one verse, I remember I was reading Psalm 18, in this verse 28, For thou wilt light my candle, the Lord my God will enlighten my darkness. I like that verse. For thou wilt light my candle, the Lord will enlighten my darkness. Some of these verses stand out when you're reading, when you read commentaries like I mentioned over the years, we were in churches that were psalm singing churches. The Dutch Reformed have the Psalter. Like it says here in verse 36 of Psalm 18, Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, that my feet did not slip. So anyway, reading through the Psalms. My wife and I were still reading through the New Testament, and we're in the Gospel of Matthew, and we read chapter 22 of the Gospel of Matthew yesterday. So reading through the New Testament, reading through the Gospel of Matthew, reading through the Psalms. Yeah, I recommend this. As I told you, Reformation Heritage Books has this on sale, 4 volumes for $80. And then I've been reading this little treatise by 17th century English Puritan, The Lord Our Righteousness, Christ is the Righteousness of the Sinner Before God, by Obadiah Crew. And reading this Puritan reprint, The Way of the Spirit in Bringing Souls to Christ, by Thomas Allen, published by Northampton Press, which is situated in Orlando, Florida. And I got this out a week ago, just to glance at it once in a while. It's one of these, he wasn't a Puritan, he was an Anglican back in the, I think, 17th century. But it's the works of John Boyes, Dean of Canterbury. It says here in the back, the great Spurgeon, it says here in the back here, the great Charles Spurgeon marveled that the works of John Boyes had not been reprinted in his day since its original 1629 edition. Now the writings of this man are available once again. Included in this scarce of reprints are Boyes' writings on the Psalms used in the English liturgy, as well as his exposition on the epistles and the Gospels. There are also his comments on the Apostles' Creed, the Lord's Prayer, and the Ten Commandments, and much, much more. And then he quotes Charles Spurgeon, quote, one of the richest writers, from its golden pen flows condensed wisdom. Any of his sentences are worthy to be quoted as gems of the Christian classics. Racy, rich, running over, we marvel that it has not been reprinted. Boyes is all essence. Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's a good book to read in the mornings for devotions, and it does have gems of the, many of his sentences are worthy to be quoted as gems of the Christian classics. Racy, rich, and running over. Yeah, I recommend this. I don't know if it's still available. I bought this many years ago. My edition came out in 1997. And then I'm still reading, I read this yesterday, Distinctive Marks of the Saving Faith by Alexander Comrie, translated out of the Dutch by Bartel Esterhout, and edited by Joel R. Beakey. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a good book to read, especially in today. There is so much false Christian spirituality, false ideas of what it means to be converted, what it means to be a Christian, what it means to walk with God. This is a good book to read and to examine yourself and to make sure that you are truly saved and not just been deceived by the devil. Because there's on the last day, on the day of judgment, there'll be many people there who think that they're Christians and they're not. So you need to really examine yourself. And this is a good book to read, to what are the marks of saving faith? What are the evidences of saving faith? Because there's false faith, there's false repentance, there's false conversion, there's false religion, there's a false Christianity. So those are what I've been reading in the mornings for devotions. In the afternoons, sometimes I just read, especially on Sundays, I try to read longer. I think I showed you, I got this book in the mail last week or the week before, I can't remember, The Philosophy of Walking by Frederick Gross. I bought this downtown at Rita's World. My wife was down there. She went to Rita's World this week to get bookmarkers to put in Christmas cards that she's mailing out, and I told her to pick this book up for me. The Philosophy of Walking. This was translated, I think, it didn't say. I think it was written in French, translated by John Howell. So I've been reading this. I've been rereading Will by. This is like a pseudo memoir by Will Self. Will, like a memoir. As I mentioned, I just recently picked up Will Self's newest kind of pseudo memoir autobiography of his mother, Elaine. So, yeah, I've been reading Will Self for a number of years. And I've been reading in the afternoons Maria Theresa, Habsburg Empress in Her Time by Barbara Stromberg and Reinlinger. And this is translated out of German by Robert Savage. So I've been reading this in the afternoons. It's really fascinating, the deep dive into the Maria Theresa and her times, the Habsburg Empire and 18th century. It's just kind of fascinating reading and really enjoying it. It's kind of dry in a way, but very informative. You learn things that you didn't know. So I've been reading this. It's over. It's close to 1,000 pages, about 1,020 pages. So I've been reading this in the afternoons. These things I haven't gotten into this week because I've been reading Patrick DeWitt, but I have been reading the Kamenev stories by Velomor Shamamoff and reading The Gulag, A History by Anne Applebaum. And I haven't gotten this in a couple weeks, but The Notebook, A History of Thinking on Paper by Roland Allen. Yeah, I'm almost finished with this. I kind of just sitting on my to be read pile. Need to finish it. I'll probably get back into reading this. I don't plan to put it down the lower level for a while. The Gulag, A History. Highly recommend the Kamenev stories by Velomor Shamamoff, translated by Donald Rayfield. Yeah, I really get back into this, but like I said, I got sidetracked in reading the novels of what did I do with them? I had them. Oh, I don't know what I did with them. What did I do with them? I don't know. I had them in front of me. Oh, here they are. Yeah, I got sidetracked reading The Librarius. First, I was reading this by Patrick DeWitt and really enjoying it. Well, it's a very light, comical, charming little novel. It says here in the back, Bob Comet is a retired librarian passing his solitary days surrounded by books and small comforts, hoping to fill the void he's known since retiring. He begins volunteering at a senior center. Here, following a hapstance brush with a painful complication from his past, the events of his life and the details of his character are revealed. Behind Bob's straight man facade is a story of an unhappy child's runaway adventure, of true love won and stolen away, of the purpose and pride found in the librarian's vocation, and the pleasures of a life lived to the side of the masses. So then I was reading this, and then usually when I get a writer, I mentioned I read The French Exit, and I read Under Major Domino. And what I find interesting, each of his novels by Patrick DeWitt is a it's not a repetition. Every novel is unique in itself, its story. And this story, when I read about the synopsis of his novel Oblations by Patrick DeWitt, it kind of I was attracted to it. I like these kinds of stories. And it says in the back, just little descriptions. A dark, boozy, grimy, funny tale of the sodden depths of the Los Angeles underworld from the award-winning author of Sister Brothers. Sister Brothers was one of a novel that Patrick DeWitt got a lot of acclaim for. It was made into a movie. I found it on Amazon Prime. I plan to watch it. It says, and it goes on here, in a seedy bar, a whiskey-loving barman is struggling to comply his notes for a novel. Drawn ever further into the nocturnal world of the bar's clientele of drifters and losers with their jealous squabbles, delusions, and casual sex, he comes to realize that escape offers the only chance of survival. See, it's called Oblations, Notes for a Novel by Patrick DeWitt. So there's little paragraphs, and it starts out with one of the clientele in the character's bar, and then he goes into a little story about this person, their background, and what he knows and what he sees, and it's kind of sad in a way, but and darkly comical at the same time. So I've been reading this, and that's how I got away from what I was reading, because I try to read Christian in the mornings and nonfiction in the afternoons and fiction in the evenings. So I've been reading this and reading this. So that's what I do. Of course, throughout the day, I mess with the computer. I watch YouTube, BookTube, and today is college football. And I spend a lot of time wandering my cell, writing in my diary, looking at my books. I haven't really gone anywhere, like thrift stores, because of the bad weather. I don't like driving in snow and ice. And I no longer volunteer at the local library used bookstore, the Book Nook, since it reopened. So my book buying has kind of slowed down as far as used books. I did order a Christian book the other night, but and I have books on pre-order from Amazon. But I'm trying, and I have bought a lot of books the last 12 months, so I need to read those. I have plenty to read. I don't really need even to buy another book. I mean, I have cataloged in my library thing 15,000 books. I have 4,000 novels cataloged, and also I like to read Christian. I mean, my favorite books are Christian books. What I supremely enjoy is reading the Bible and studying the Bible. I'm really being blessed and going through the Psalms and rereading the New Testament, going through the Gospel of Matthew. And of course, life should be a life of unceasing prayer, worship, devotion, meditation, contemplation. That's why I've been really enjoying reading Carthusian spirituality, and I do plan to really put it into my spiritual discipline more, sitting in silence and contemplation. So this is a Saturday. I hope you had a good reading week. Thank you for your comments. I found a ton of comments last night. I can't figure out where my comments go in YouTube. Sometimes I try to answer every comment once it appears. And then last night I clicked on something and all the 30 comments appeared that I didn't even know that were there. I can't figure it out because I try to respond to all comments because I appreciate all those people who subscribe to me and who watch me, because I know I'm not beautiful. I'm an old man. I have learning disabilities. Some people are turned off because I am a lover of Jesus Christ, and I don't try to push Christianity. I'm here just to be who I am, and who I am is I'm a man who's in love with Jesus Christ, and I'm a man who seeks to live for the glory of God and not for the glory of man. It's just how I am. And as I've been mentioned, in BookTube you find all kinds of people. You find people who don't even mention any kind of religion, but everybody is religious because they're made in the image of God and they're worshiping something. It's just how man is created. I mean, everywhere you go in the world, everywhere you go in human history, men and women and children have bowed down to something. To worship is part of who we are, being made in the image of God. And that's why I mentioned about there's false spirituality, there's false religion. You read the Bible. The Bible warns against false gods and how we need to know who the true God is, and that's why Jesus Christ came, why we have the Bible, things like that. See, I'm rambling again. So I'll sign off. And I see some sunshine coming, but who knows. So I hope you're having a good weekend. Do pray you're all doing well. Thank you for the comments. Forgive me if I have not responded to the comments. I found some comments 3 weeks ago. I don't know where they came from. But anyway, if you have any questions about any books or anything you want to ask me, feel free. As I said, if you want to know my day-to-day life, read my online diary found in LiveJournal, Crooked Fingers. I've been writing there since March of 2001. And yeah, so hope you're all doing well. May the Lord bless. Until next time, bye.